This is Verdansk, and despite all of its flaws, it holds a special place in a lot of our hearts for getting us through a very difficult 2020 and giving all of us something new, exciting, and fun to play with our friends. This was the first time we'd seen stuff like cross-platform, battle royales for everybody, and just this crazy expansion of Call of Duty that we'd never seen before. And for that reason, Verdansk is incredibly special. Nowadays though, it's hidden away, and the only way you can access it is what I'm doing right now. Flying around Call of Duty Modern Warfare, using the Codcaster mode to sort of break into the map and have a look around at what we used to have fun with. This thing is dead, gone and buried from Warzone. A map that was so dear to so many of us simply vanished. And I think it's a real shame. Now, I wasn't a huge fan of Verdansk, and it definitely had some teething flaws for a Call of Duty team that was embracing Battle Royale for the first time. But it was a special map, and it was the first time in ages that I can remember loading up a game with my friends across any platform and playing till the crack of the morning and just having a great time with it. And the demand for it to return has been incredible. And this has led Activision's manager of live operations, Alex Summers, to say the Verdansk will be coming back. Now, this isn't a joke, this isn't a ruse, this isn't a late April Fool's. Verdansk is going to be returning in some capacity, and I think is going to be returning to Warzone. Now, I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret, or something that's definitely not well known by the majority of the gaming community. Call of Duty never actually expected Warzone to be a success. They expected the game to die and were already making preparations for Blackout 2. Now, many of you remember all of these new rumors at the end of the first year of Warzone, and everybody thought we were getting a brand new map and not Verdansk 84. Well, that map was the Blackout 2 map that never made it to the light of day because Warzone was so successful and so popular. And not planning for Warzone to be a huge success and not planning for a long-term live service for it was something that came back to bite Activision. Because the reason you can't play Verdansk right now in Call of Duty Warzone is because the game is coded incredibly poorly. Now, Warzone has two major faults. The first one is data and compression. The second one is how it updates its games. Now, the first one is fairly obvious. Warzone is really bad at updating things in terms of keeping data to a minimum. They don't seem to compress the textures in the maps, they don't seem to compress the assets and the physical things you see in game, and as a result of that, you get update files of 30-40 gigs, games that are 120 gigabytes plus, and it's a very, very big mess. So if we were to have Caldera and Verdansk at the same time, it could resemble something like a 300 gigabyte file just to enjoy that if you wanted to. The second is that Call of Duty updates its game through its playlists. Now, Zombie Royale was a big classic mode that lots of people really wanted to return, but they couldn't bring it back to the game because they hadn't updated the playlist for that mode in quite some time, meaning that all of the legacy bugs and all the old issues from when that game mode existed would be present now if they brought it back. Warzone updates its playlists categorically, so if something gets left behind like a map like Verdansk, all of the legacy bugs that were with it would also be brought forward to the future. All of this will have to be solved in order for Verdansk to return. So what did this guy mean when he said Verdansk will be coming back, but it will be coming back sometime next year? I don't want to give too much away, but the map will be coming back to certain platforms sometime next year. Now, that's a very peculiar way to word this, and it has led a lot of people to believe that Call of Duty Mobile might be receiving Verdansk. Now, they're not wrong. Call of Duty Mobile most likely would receive Verdansk, and it would be a very intelligent move. However, something very interesting happened recently, and it made me realize that perhaps they are serious about returning Verdansk to Warzone. Tucked away in files locked far, far away, an update actually happened to the Modern Warfare playlists alongside the recent update to Warzone. And it introduced some really interesting things. Brimstone, Crosswinged, Headhunter, Just Reward, Paladin, Raid Part 1 and Part 2, which look a lot like Spec Ops missions and things that could be played out with friends, but it added something very, very interesting. And that is the map that they're calling Big Map. And it very clearly is Verdansk. If you just hover over the item, it very obviously is Verdansk. And it appears that efforts have begun or are underway to make it so that Verdansk is actually playable within Modern Warfare. Now, I don't think this was meant to be shown to the general public, and I think this was a mistake, because you can't actually access any of these maps using the custom modes in Modern Warfare. If you hover over them, it will simply say that this isn't compatible with any of the modes in Modern Warfare. But it does signify that it seems as though they've been able to decouple the physical layout and the actual map of Verdansk from the playlists and codebase that existed in Warzone, meaning that you could theoretically make it playable through the customs game mode of Modern Warfare. Now, why would they do that? Why would they go through the effort to add this thing in? Why would they go through the effort to make it part of the menu system? And why would they include it in the code of the game if it's not part of Modern Warfare? Now, bearing in mind, Verdansk is made up effectively of multiple Modern Warfare assets cobbled together in a very large map. So why would this be there? Why would you go through the effort to clearly in some way, shape or form separate Verdansk out as an individual map? And why would it be in this menu? More importantly, why would Modern Warfare receive an update? It hasn't received one in a very long time, and Warzone has received multiple. This is a very weird addition. The big map definitely means something. And what I think it represents is an ongoing and active effort by the guys over at Raven Software to decouple Verdansk from the codebase of Warzone so that they can bring it back as it originally was for Warzone. And there are 3 reasons why I think this is happening. Number 1, the introduction of this odd map on the playlist section. I think that kind of speaks for itself. I think it shows evidence that there is an effort going on at the moment to make Verdansk playable again. Number 2, we've had this announcement from a guy at Activision saying that Verdansk will return to certain platforms. And number 3, which many of you probably will not know, so far and so forward, we haven't seen a single reference to what is going to happen in the final season of Vanguard onwards. Now, usually when the developers start preparing for all of these various seasons, they tend to have these sort of background files readied and prepped for them to put new content into. And it ends very much so in and around season 5 to 6, which will be the last ever season of Vanguard, but theoretically the last ever update to the base game of Warzone. This is also exactly around the time that Modern Warfare 2 is set to release, meaning that there probably won't be any updates to the base version of Warzone until Warzone 2 releases in March 2023. So what better way to make Warzone players happy and give them something to enjoy whilst they wait for Warzone 2, which has its own brand new map, than return Verdansk to the player base? It's all of these 3 things combined that make me believe that Verdansk will be making a return to Warzone 1, which eventually is going to be written off in 2023 for Warzone 2. Now, this person even went on to actively confirm that Warzone 2 is getting its own map, as many of us anticipated. But this is really interesting. It seems as though they've recognized that Caldera hasn't been as successful as they wanted. And a lot of that has been down to the fact that it's poorly optimized, doesn't run well on consoles, and generally has some issues around the peak area which make it a bit of an annoying map. I also think World War II generally isn't an appealing setting, and if you look at the recent DLC for Vanguard, which seems to break away from World War II and offer some modern variants, whilst also destroying Caldera through a specific Godzilla event, there is a lot going on to sort of remedy these problems in-game. But very much in my opinion, the fact that they've put so much emphasis on Rebirth Island screams to me that they know that Verdansk needs to make a return at some point. And I guess the bigger question really is, why waste it? Verdansk was something that they must have spent so many hours on, and possibly over a year on, creating and developing, and to just throw it all away at the very end of the game seems very, very strange to me. You definitely would imagine they would come back in rotation. There are pretty much no battle royales that I can remember that would just throw away an entire map and never use it again. So I think this introduction of Big Map very much represents that they are working hard to bring Verdansk back to Warzone, and I for one can't wait to see it happen. So folks, let me know what you think in the comment section down below, and feel free to subscribe as well. It really does support the channel, We're on the road to 100k, drop a like, and I'll see you in the next one.